Greet you all students of third year. This is paper first, unit B. Now we would start British poets. We have been discussing the concept of poetry, the significance of poetry in the whole range of English literature, and you are really overwhelmed when you speak, articulate the notion of poetry. Poetry has great universal appeal, yet it is categorized into British poets, American poets, Indian poets, or the like, Australian and other poets also, African poets. But the idea underlying is that the poets prescribed in your syllabus be British poets or Indian poets. You would love to study poetry. So the purpose, as we discussed earlier, the emotions, the intensity of passions, the humanitarian approach, the fellow feelings, the compassion, the feeling of universal brotherhood, and the establishment of love, peace, and harmony in the world. So, the eradication of all the evils from the society, be it terrorism, crime, corruption, or the like. All the kinds of evils prevailing in the society must be uprooted. This is the pious purpose of poetry. So, in this series, Unit B, we would start British poets. Now, the following poems, students, mind you, they are prescribed in your syllabus, and the title of book, as I mentioned earlier, this is prescribed in your syllabus, 15 poets, Oxford University Press. The poems, they are, all the poems, they are available in this. See the first poet, John Milton, Lycidas, the title of poetry, Lycidas. Second poet, British poet, John Dryden, and the title of poem is Alexander Feast. Third, S.T. Coleridge, Kubla Khan. Two poems prescribed in your syllabus by Coleridge, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, first Kubla Khan and second Frost at Midnight. And the fourth poet, Alfred Lord Tennyson. Again, two poems in your syllabus, prescribed in your syllabus, Crossing the Bar, and second one is Ring Out Wild Bells. This is, C4 part from his famous Elegy in Memoriam. I would like to start from the last poet, that is Alfred Tennyson. It's not because of the length, yes, of course. So the Victorian poet, we would begin with that. In the whole range of English poetry, each and every era, it is really indelibly imprinted with the human psyche and symbolically, metaphorically, yes, mindsets of the whole mankind. It's not, meant only for the students of literature. Be the students from Faculty of Commerce, Faculty of Science, or the like. So here, the first poet is Alfred Tennyson, and he is regarded as one of the most representative poets of Victorian era. And see, the you must have idea of about deeper understanding and knowledge of the history of English literature. As I mentioned this point earlier, we have chronology in this context, and say the Victorian era. See here, we would start. And now, what is the period? Because not only from the point of view of examination, but also for your personal enrichment. And if you feel personally enriched, knowledgeable, then obviously your performance in examination will be excellent. Okay, so the first poet prescribed in the syllabus is Alfred Tennyson. Okay, now Alfred Tennyson, he is an eminent signature in the whole range of British poetry and poetry in general, rather. So, what is the age? The Victorian age. Now, his exact time period, you must have idea about it, is 1800 to 1892. Now, when we discuss certain age, for instance, you just review, you studied earlier Shakespeare and sonnets. So, which age Shakespeare belongs to? Elizabethan age. Okay, and you also studied other poets like William Wordsworth. So, the period of William Wordsworth is Romanticism. That is, yes, it is also called Romantic Revival, with the publication of lyrical ballad, long step forward taken in the whole range of English poetry. So this is romanticism, romantic age, and we have this Alfred Tennyson. So you must have idea about different ages, different periods, and see that there is reflection of some characteristic features of that age, students, mind you. So it is a must to know. Actually, see, you must have curiosity about, oh, what kind of people they lived in that era, and the kind of mindset and their tradition, customs, the way of living. So, and some political influences and social advancement, upliftment, or we can say some religious significance, or I mean, which kind, and then we have a spiritual bent of mind of the people. I mean, so many points. Then democratic setup. So different ideas and different kind of features, factors at that time, and that really affect these features affect the mindset of the poets. Okay, so persona, making the persona of that poet is also very important. Now you should also have idea about the contemporary. I mean, at secondary level, you read, do you remember one Victorian poet you read, you studied? Yes, this is just you're brushing up your mind when you start studying any poet. Yes, continuity is very important. I discussed this point. I mean, whatever you study, it must be in continuation. It's not that you just study and you read certain poet and you forget it the next year. No, you must remember the important points. Actually, what do you learn from it? Is it a source of inspiration for you? What are the points that is really all you would always remember or feeding in your mind? That would call real learning, students. Okay, so the focus must be on the real learning. As I put up this question, any Victorian poet did you read last year, second year level? Yes. So in this, reference, we have three important Victorian poets. And see, we have obviously uh, Alfred Tennyson. Tennyson, see here, have a look. See, just this these pictures, you would be inspired. Kind of people, they have just for life, and they have passion for, say, humanitarian approach, and they were really great signature in the whole range of English literature. So these signatures, they have become immortal. So we must use present tense for they have been signature. Okay. So three important Victorian poets, students, mind you. We have say Alfred Tennyson. Okay. We have yes, Robert Browning. This was the question I put up. Which poet did you read last year? So this is just brushing up your mind. Yes, Robert Browning's My Last Touches. And Robert Browning, when we articulate his name, we are really highly impressed with his robust optimism. God is in heaven and all is right with the world. Yes, you learn a lot from these poets. So Robert Browning, and we have Alfred Tennyson and Matthew Arnold. So Matthew Arnold's which poem did you study last year, students? Yes, it is Dover Beach. Sea of faith and the establishment of love, peace. Let us be true to each other. Beautiful expression by Matthew Arnold. Metaphorical significance of faith in the world. Yes, we must, so now when we study these poets, so you see, students, good, bright students, they must have knowledge of other poets also. See, when you study one poet, you must have idea, oh, who are contemporary poets? Yes. So in this reference, you must have idea about other poets also. They hail from the same era. Okay. So these three poets contain, and this is this kind of, we have say the kind of mindset, the reflection of the age is also very important. Okay, when we talk about Victorian poets, now what is the concept of Victorian? See, this is very important period in English literature, in English poetry. The reason behind it is that because of the certain characteristic features. So we would obviously start with which poet first? Yes, we would start with Tennyson, Alfred Tennyson. And when we talk about Tennyson, see the Victorian, he is regarded as the most representative poets of his age. So here in this context, the first significant point of Victorian age, here have a look. It's this age is marked by rapid social change, advancement of science, industrialization, commercialization, and materialistic pursuit of the people. And there was a sort of conflict between science and religion. This is one of the most important characteristic features of this age. So you just have a look here. We have very important points. Okay, so this is Victorian age. So Victorian age, so particularly 1832 to 1900. So these are certain important points we have. So this age is marked by rapid social change. Now what is the reason? Now what is the concept of actually Victorian? At this time, particular Queen Victoria, she ruled over England. So her accession to the throne in England. So this was 1837. This was the period. I mean, this is the reason. And obviously, see the beginning of say 19th century. So this period, social change. Now, what is the concept of social change? It witnessed urbanization and industrialization also. Advancement of industries and commercialization and commercial point of view and materialistic pursuits and all that. I mean, this kind of, we can also say it is the age of progress, in a way, prosperity and progress. So this significance of scientific advancements also in the age of machinery and different, inventions at that time. So for instance, you use different machinery every day. So this was the, beginning of that period of scientific advancement. Now the point is that, here the disintegration of the village community led to industrial expansion. The idea underlying is that, the people, they migrated from villages to the city, the town life, and and this was also, one of the important features in this particular age, Victorian age students, mind you. This was, exploitation of labor class also. When we discuss industrialization, in a way, advancement of say some kind of industries and expansion of that rather. So labor class, this was also one of the issues and that a theme, in particularly in as when you study Hardy's novels and say fiction, prescribed new series, for instance, even Charles Dickens, Victorian novelist also. So say you must have wide reading and for your better understanding, at that time. So this was the, the kind of gap between capitalist and labor class. This is one of the, and it is in a way universal issue. Though in Victorian era, this was one of the important problems we can prevalent at that time, but it is also in a way universal issue. So this, being students of literature, so you must have, better knowledge of this. You must have idea about that. Oh, these were the problems at the time. And this was also age of new education. Now, even in modern time, see, students, as you are studying in the college, you must have some kind of awakening. Even you must be aware of certain social issues. It's not that you just open your book and you read and okay. I mean, what is going around the society? So that kind of awakening is very important. So you can very well understand in that way. I mean, if we connect with the present time, if it has some relevance to the present time, then obviously you will understand in better way. So even at that time, say 19th century, now you must be curious to know, you must be keen, you have curiosity that, oh, Alfred Tennyson, he lived but in particular at that time, and his great contribution to the society. So this was exactly the period, okay? So new education also rising of that, and social awakening obviously among the people that, oh, they must be educated, and they must, they were so curious to improve their knowledge. So spirit of that kind of, knowledge is also, knowledge is power and all that, and work is worship. It's a, famous motto at that time. So awareness is very important even in the present context. I mean, again, universal appeal. So British poets, in which, yes, there must be some obviously cultural difference between Indian and British poets. But the the significant point is that, students, the crux is that, I mean, all the time we must not, distinguish. We must not, that kind of, you say, widening the gap. No, not at all. We have great universal appeal, mind you, students of literature. So this was See, the awakening and new education, this point is very important all the time, and particular in Victorian context. So now, what is the reason? Because people, they became very, I mean, they became aware, and that kind of say, even yes, in the field of journalism also, and publication of books, this flourishing period, publication books were published, novels, poems, and all that, essays at that time. So now the all this, industrialization, urbanization, and even commercialization and materialism, that led to social unrest. This was the, you know, one of the most important characteristic features of Victorian age. Now, what is social unrest? See, the conflict between the two worlds. See, if you have this kind of, say, conflict or dilemmatic mental state, oh, this or that, whether materialistic or say religion or spiritualism, so or say two worlds, now two worlds in a way. So this was particularly in social Victorian period, social unrest, the conflict between, for instance, science and religion, or democracy or aristocracy, or labor or say capitalist. Okay, so this was rich and poor, widening the gap between the two. So, and on the one hand, say a scientific advancement, a spirit of questioning people why and what. And see, yes, so here exactly, in Dover Beach, the same theme, sea of faith, one, it engulfs entire world, and it is retreating, withdrawing. Okay, so the intensity of emotions, being reflected in Matthew Arnold's poetry. Do you remember? So this is exactly, see, unless and until you understand the characteristic features of that particular age, how would you understand it? Okay, so from that point of view, so these are important points, important characteristic features, and the reflection of age in the persona as well as the personage. So the works of these immortal poets. So students, it is a must to comprehend it. So we will continue the point. Thank you.